When we're trying to construct a business that reflects Christ, it's a lot like building a house or an office. Now, in an existing business, you can make many tweaks and changes and small things to make your business more Christ-like, and those efforts are valuable. However, if you really want to create a business that's deeply rooted in Jesus Christ, you got to start with the foundation. So imagine you're building a house. The most crucial part of the entire structure is the foundation. If the foundation is weak or you don't have one, no matter how awesome you make that house or that office building, it's going to fall apart when things get tough. Well, God is the foundation of a good business, Jesus Christ, and everything else is built upon it. And this isn't just a shift in a mindset, okay? You've got to come to this profound realization that this business or department that you're working on, it is not yours. It belongs to God. It's God's business. It's God's department. And you just happen to be the steward of it for some short amount of time. Recognizing this puts everything else in perspective. It's absolutely necessary. Now, once you've got that foundation, the next step of building is you have these walls. Typically, they come out for a basement or maybe it's a crawl space, but they're the walls that support the entire structure above it. They connect the foundation with the structure of the business or the building. I think these walls represent the soul of an organization. In the secular world, we might call it the core of an organization, but they're your purpose, vision, values, strategies. And in a Christ-centered business, this is the soul, all right? It's just like a person. A business or an organization, they have a life, just like a person has a life, and they have very many of the same needs. And the core has to be well thought out, clearly communicated. And that way, everything above the ground is aligned with the foundation in Christ if this is all done well. But if it's disjointed, if it's unclear, everything above that structure is going to be, well, it's going to suffer, okay? Now, the structure above that, now this is the building, but too often what happens in a business is the leaders build the ground above it without ensuring that that structure underneath, the foundation and those connecting walls are strong. And it leads to division in the business and where parts of the operation are disconnected from other parts or its mission and its core. For instance, it's not uncommon that the founder of a business loves either the customer-facing part of it or a certain part of the business, and they just hate administration. So they see it as two separate things. The administration's not part of the core mission. And if you do that, you're setting your business up to have a division that's very ineffective. You need to carefully lay this foundation in Christ, build those walls, and be sure everything else you build above it is connected to that foundation and the soul, those walls that connect the foundation to everything above it. Now, as far as the parts of the building of the business that are above those walls, I like to use the analogy of a jet plane because most businesses can be divided into this. And I've borrowed this from Donald Miller, it's really, really good explanation, added it and tweaked it a little bit, but there's basically 7 main parts to every building, and think of a jet and you'll never forget them, okay? The cockpit, that's the leadership. Clarity, execution, decision making, vision, you need that thing, right? And then the cabin crew, it represents culture and team. Then you've got the wings, those are your products and services. Engine 1's marketing, engine 2 is sales. The fuselage of that jet, that's your overhead and operations. It's the weight, okay? And finally is the fuel. That's your cash flow. Not much happens without it. Now that just gives you an idea of the structure above it. And each of these components are vital, but you've got to lay the foundation on a foundation of Jesus Christ with a soul clearly defined above that. So now in conclusion, we need to think about something. If you're trying to take an existing business and make this transition, you can't just tear the business down completely right away from the start and go on, or you can, but but that's usually not the way it happens. It's a little bit more of a nuanced approach. You need to closely evaluate exactly what you have and be sure you have that documented correctly. And then maybe you need to improve a few processes, your meetings, and refine how communication is done to stabilize what you have. Then you can clearly define what you want this business to look like in a year or two or something along those lines. And then you build that foundation and you just move your business in pieces over to that new structure. The transformation is not going to happen overnight, and it is not going to be easy. All right. Easy things, they generally just don't work. All right. You got to be prepared to do the hard work, and that's what separates the successful from the non-successful. And it's true in our faith lives, and it's true in building an organization that's built on Jesus Christ. So that's the way I see it. Now, life's never going to be a walk in the park, so don't go on a walk, go on an adventure.